From its mysterious and often mistaken origin to the damage it's endured over the centuries, today we look at secrets of the Statue of Liberty. Number 10. Assembly required. The Statue of Liberty first arrived from France to New York Harbor via steamship in 1885. Considering the jaw-dropping, sheer size of the statue, it wasn't exactly fit to travel by ship, and so it arrived split and divided up into a collection of crates. As the parts of the great statue arrived, Americans gathered in droves at the port with 200,000 people in attendance to welcome the great new beacon of freedom. But it wasn't until 1886, after Lady Liberty was fully constructed, that President Grover Cleveland presided over a massive dedication ceremony over land and sea, setting the precedent for the first ticker-tape parade in the process. Number 9. Bedloe's Island. Long before the Statue of Liberty reached its shores, the small bit of land it now occupies was known as Great Oyster Island. The nearby tidal flats of the region were home to massive oyster beds that served as a main food source of the region for almost 3 centuries. The island would eventually be gifted by an English governor in 1664 to a British captain, who then went on to sell it to one Isaac Bedloe. It was henceforth known as Bedloe's Island and served a variety of uses over the next century as private property. The island would continue to change hands over the years, sometimes operating as a farm or hunting grounds, and even being utilized as a smallpox quarantine station. But during the American Revolution, British forces would attempt to use the island to house Tory sympathizers. But after the dust settled in 1776, the island's structures were burnt down. In their stead, the U.S. Army erected Fort Wood, which would go on to serve as the base of the Statue of Liberty. The name of the landmass would eventually be changed to Liberty Island by Congress in 1956. Number 8. Impressive skeleton. While the Statue of Liberty astounds visitors daily with its great, green, majestic exterior, the true marvel of this American landmark is its stabilizing interior. Composed of iron, this multi-level skeleton supports the statue at its center. When they were built, these pillars formed the greatest freestanding iron structure on Earth. But this title would eventually be passed on to the taller and equally regal Eiffel Tower, a spiritual sibling to the Statue of Liberty thanks to their shared designer, Gustav Eiffel. This sturdy foundation kept the statue upright for decades until in 1980, Lady Liberty received a major renovation. Slowly but surely, the workers fixing up the statue replaced each piece of the puddled iron skeleton in 1 to 2 foot long segments. Along with stabilizing the interior, the renovations also included new lighting, easier interior access, and the installment of a modern elevator. Number 7. Unwanted Gift. Many believe the Statue of Liberty arrived stateside as a gift from France in support of democracy, liberty, and independence. But this myth is far from the truth, with the concept, construction, and execution being driven by a single individual, Auguste Bartholdi, sculptor extraordinaire. The famed French artist is responsible for a number of popular works and monuments across the country, but the Liberty Enlightening the World, or Statue of Liberty as it came to be known, is by far his crowning achievement. He funded its design himself, raising money any way he could, going so far as to convince the French government to hold a lottery to pay for the would-be American statue. But once it was finished and Bartholdi offered it to the United States under the condition they provide a pedestal for it to stand, the federal government took offense. With the U.S. not wanting to pay for such a gift, the future of the statue was stuck in limbo. Luckily, American press mogul Joseph Pulitzer came to the rescue, organizing the first crowdfunding campaign and using newspapers to convince the public to donate in support of the required pedestal, and printing their names as donors in exchange. Number 6. Lighting the way. Before the many pieces of the Statue of Liberty made it to American soil, the arm and torch were shipped stateside by boat from Paris to New York. As the future of the monument was still in question, the torch was put to use. It first went to Philadelphia in 1876 as an attraction at the World's Fair in Fairmount Park. Visitors were able to pay a fee of 50 cents each to climb to the torch's balcony, with all money raised going towards finding and building a home for the statue. Bartholdi was in attendance for this exhibition, looking after his masterpiece and witnessing its reception live. From there, the torch went back to New York, where it went on display in Madison Square Park between 1876 and 1882. It remained a source of fundraising until the statue's pedestal was financially secured and the rest of the statue made its journey across the Atlantic. Number 5. Freemason Connection. Aside from the false legend of the monstrous sage monument being a gift from France, another mythos surrounds the Statue of Liberty with a bit more suspicious connotation. Theorists believe the creators of the statue, Bartholdi and Eiffel, held membership with the Freemasons, and that they subtly included hints as such within the landmark itself. Even the original name, Liberty Enlightening the World, spoke to one of the major tenets of the Freemasons, enlightenment. Many of the leaders during the Enlightenment era were Freemasons, and this secret society has been given much of the credit for bringing liberalism and democracy to Europe as a whole between the 18th and 20th centuries. If this wasn't enough evidence to connect Freemasonry to the statue, in 1884 a connection was made seemingly apparent. Freemason Grand Master William A. Brodie presided over the laying of the cornerstone of the Statue of Liberty in a ceremony among fellow lodge members. Of the moment and the Masons' involvement, Brodie said, "Why call upon the Masonic fraternity to lay the cornerstone of such a structure as is here to be erected? No institution has done more to promote liberty and to free men from the trammels and chains of ignorance and tyranny than has Freemasonry." This moment was celebrated a century later with the installment of a plaque at the base of the monument. Number 4. Damage control. In 1916, a group of German spies attacked the munitions facility at Black Tom Island, setting off a catastrophic explosion that affected buildings across the region and could be heard as far away as Maryland. Bunches of dynamite bound for England and French forces was being prepared for shipment when the spies sabotaged the explosives. Thousands of windows from buildings across the city shattered in the wake of the blast, and 7 lives were lost. Less than a mile away from the compound explosion, the Statue of Liberty shook and shuddered as shrapnel impacted into the head, arm, and torch. The total damage to the statue was fairly minor in comparison to other parts of the region, though repair costs ended up totaling nearly $100,000, the equivalent to $2.3 million today. Of the damage sustained, the torch-bearing arm took the brunt of it. For public safety reasons, the interior path to the torch was closed following the incident, and remains so to this day. Number 3. Muse Confusion. Millions of people look at the Statue of Liberty daily, whether they are looking directly at it or at some sort of representation of it in popular media. As such, the face of the Mother of Freedom has become recognizable by many. But whose face is it really? One account tells of a meeting between Bartholdi and French Senator Jules Buzarian at an opera house in which the sculptor confessed the identity of his muse. When the senator reached Bartholdi's box, as the story goes, he parted the curtain to find a real living version of the Statue of Liberty before his eyes. Responding to the senator's astonishment, Bartholdi supposedly told him, "But do you know who this lady is? She's my mother." However, in 2014, a different truth was proposed when French writer Nathalie Salmon claimed her ancestor Sarah had been Bartholdi's inspiration, giving details in her book, Lady Liberty, I Love You. The story goes that Sarah Salmon's husband, Adolph, had made a fortune in California before meeting the famous sculptor in his travels. The couple visited Paris and met with Bartholdi at his studio, at which time the artist was so awestruck by her features that he incorporated them into his work. At the end of the day, however, the truth may never be known as to what woman really inspired such an iconic symbol of freedom. Number 2. Intercontinental replicas. Within the United States, the Statue of Liberty has grown to iconic prominence as a symbol of everything the USA stands for. It's earned a litany of nicknames over the years, with Americans affectionately referring to her as America's Freedom, the Green Goddess, the Mother of Exiles, the Spirit of American Independence, and many more patriotic titles. But outside of the States, this world-renowned structure has many doppelgangers, though at a fraction of the size. The original model for the Statue of Liberty can be found within the Luxembourg Gardens in Paris. Not far from there, on the man-made island atop the Seine River, another incarnation sits on display in commemoration of the French Revolution. But these smaller versions aren't exclusive to France. Modern editions have appeared too, with a Lego version and a deconstructed art project placing the Statue of Liberty right around Times Square. Number 1. Almost Gold. Prior to becoming the Great Green Lady in the water, the Statue of Liberty was actually copper. Chemical reactions with the environment eventually developed into a layer of patina, giving the great patriotic structure a more verdant hue. But this effect was almost avoided entirely when sculptor Auguste Bartholdi considered coating the statue in a layer of gold. He had hoped for the statue to double as a lighthouse, but attaining the brightness needed to operate as such proved troublesome, giving birth to the extravagant notion of a gilded exterior. The price of such an endeavor would have been insanely expensive, and raising funds just to place the statue in New York Harbor was tough enough. As such, that plan never came to fruition.